Hey everyone, welcome back to the Noob. I guess Happy New Year at this point.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
It's the future.
Yeah, we're coming to you from the future or the past. However you want to look at it.
Welcome to the world of tomorrow.
Stop that, Tad.
All right, well, tonight we're going to be talking about role-playing games as usual, but not in the same way. We're talking about video games. I know, a little redundant.
Very far-fetched there.
Yeah.
We're moving so far out of our comfort zone, it's unbelievable.
Well, I think it's hard to describe what we're about to talk about. It's pretty abstract. So we're going to be talking about role-playing video games, comma, the evolution of.
Yes, this is going to be the thesis for my next degree in useless knowledge.
Wait, what was your first one?
History,
Yes.
History
useless knowledge.
D&D.
Oh yes, history of D&D.
And
Yes.
history of Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes,
That
Mike
was my-
actually did write a thesis on the
That was
history of
his
D&D.
bachelor's thesis.
How'd you do on that one?
A B+. I got like a C for the actual paper because it was kind of meandering, like, you know, my conversations on this podcast. And I didn't have enough time to edit it because I had to rewrite the entirety of the paper in the last 2.5 weeks of school. That was solid. Thanks, Prof.
Yeah,
And that's when I got my edits back, was like 2 weeks before the end of the semester. 41 pages, 2 weeks. Yeah, I was a little insane. And then I got my presentation, though, I got an A because I effectively defended my ideas, and I was a total asshole.
You know why you didn't get an A on your actual paper though?
I was a total asshole.
No, because your forward wasn't written by Vin Diesel.
Fuck you, man. I don't have those kind of connections or the money to go out to Geneva, Wisconsin to interview Gary Gygax, who was still alive at the time. I didn't have those kind of funds. And that was like one of the things my professor was like, why don't you go to Wisconsin and interview Gary Gygax? I looked at her like she was crazy. With what?
First of
How?
all, how do you get an appointment with the GAX? How does one go about doing that?
I don't even know.
You knock on his door and say, "Hey,
Hey, Uncle Gary, have you been a role-playing game for me?
Well, you probably could have gotten an appointment with Vin Diesel if you just called him up and said that you were willing to play a session with him. I mean, like, hell, the guy, forced people into playing sessions before some of his movies and all. Apparently, he's desperate for players.
That's true.
No, he just wanted Dame Judi Dench to experience the glory of Dungeons and Dragons.
Just in case anybody is wondering out there, apparently before Chronicles of Riddick, he forced his fellow co-stars of the movie to play Dungeons and Dragons before filming the actual movie. So
You would think that'd be pretty cool, you know?
I would think so. Hell, I think that's one of the coolest things that they've ever done in the film industry.
So, like, D&D is a kind of natural jumping off point for what we're about to talk about. Because, before there were video games, there was D&D. And the first role-playing video game that we can all remember, because we're, not that old, is Zork,
Yeah,
this
we
thing
are.
that Al kept on telling us about.
yeah."
That we eventually experienced all on our own. Which was a text-based role-playing game, which essentially had you wandering through a dungeon and wandering through through a forest and
pretty much just
checking out rooms.
It turned the computer into the DM, and there was only one PC, and that was you.
That was you. But
Yeah. There was only one player character, and you could only give basically 2-word actions.
Yes.
That was about the limit of what it was able to
Move
do.
left.
That's kind of how life should be like. Noun, verb. Noun, verb.
Keep
would be
things nice
down
and simple.
Yeah, everything would be great.
Stop dropping this English knowledge shit on me.
Action, thing.
There you go. That's better.
go dog,
So,
die cat.
so basically, it's just practicing typing.
Just about, yeah.
That's-
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
The same fucking 2 words over and over.
But honestly, for the time, it was pretty fucking impressive.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But it can be solved pretty quickly, though. I mean, as I think in the book that came out recently, Ready Player One, right? Didn't they go ahead and do that?
Oh, they ripped off everything, and yeah, they had a whole world they built off of.
Off of Zork, right?
Like
And
they had a planet that was the Zork planet that had like thousands of basically hubs where any person could just go find an empty hub and play through Zork.
And never mind just having to type your way through it.
Oh, they just
He
played.
actually ran his way through the whole
Literally in
world of Zork.
10 minutes because he knew all the tricks.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, I mean, like,
Which you could probably do in the real game if you actually.
But your first, that's with hindsight though. Your first time through, think about it like
oh no, your first time through, I mean, you're not going to succeed.
Yeah, but think about like the original internet, the original computer guys, right? Sitting down for the first time from this thing, and they're like, Zork, WTF, dude? and they're sitting there and they're like going through it, and like Alec did
Mike,
with
you
his
just
graph
said
paper.
WTF.
Yeah,
Like
He's speaking
speech.
in tech speech. Yeah.
yeah. What are you getting at?
Stop it.
He works
don't
with
talk to me.
teenagers. That's how they talk.
Oh man.
Yeah, man.
I
You
had to stop so many
unfortunately-
times for saying things like "cray."
What does
I
that
don't know
even
that
mean?
one.
That's all right.
Crazy. It's short for crazy. I don't know why they don't just say crazy. It's only one more letter.
That's all right because I have to catch
That's
myself from
that's
saying
two
more
more
wasted.
letters. There's a Z and a Y.
There's 2 letters.
For wasted, I don't
Right.
understand.
There's
I
a
catch
Y at
myself
the end
like,
of
why
cray.
did I just say that?
You sure it's not just CRA?
Why did they say that? I don't
It's
understand.
too
these
many
things.
letters
I'm
with C-R-A-Y, you know.
And there's no Y at the end, and it's craw.
I think it's a difference between 1 and 2 syllables that might have something to do with it. Anyway, I'm sorry. I totally derailed us.
Oh,
from
we're
our
going back to an
conversation.
English lesson. I don't like English. It
Moving
makes
on,
my
back
head
to the
hurt.
video games.
Anyway, so the thing was hard to do in the beginning.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, the
All right.
first time going through Zork, I had no idea what to do.
And you had to use your
I didn't because they don't
imagination.
tell you. You know, this is a list of commands you can give. You
No,
know,
it's
for the while.
literally you are in front of a White House
With a mailbox.
with a mailbox in front of it. Yes, that's it.
I believe that's basically how to start.
Yeah,
the-
my
the
first
whole
action
quest
was smash mailbox. Didn't work.
Yeah, and does not recognize or something like.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty much the command prompt that you got back over and over and over again.
But it
Flip
was still
way of saying,
wildly
"Fuck
popular
you."
for people to play. Not only because it was the new thing, but because it was enabled. It was
That
different.
shit was that
It was
was a
different.
huge hit. That had like 3 sequels that popped off it.
So you had that, and then you had the D&D license stuff, which was like the early like dungeon crawlers.
Which was basically the same game. They just added pictures.
Well, no, I would say also that. I mean, what would you say would be the next crawlers and stuff? I mean, are we talking days of Nintendo 8-bit kind of stuff where, I mean, D&D licensed 8-bit scrollers.
Well, yeah, but there's like in 1984 they had the. It was
There-
really bad looking, but they had like first-person dungeon explorers.
Yeah, they did. There were games
Yeah.
like Wizardry and Labyrinth, where it was essentially the same thing as Zork, except they, like literally, it was a 2-word command you can go through. The difference was that they had a little window which showed the corridor, and you, oh look, there's a door, so you could see the door. That's
Okay.
all it was.
Yeah,
I
they
hear
added a few pictures.
Yeah, they had a
around
game like that.
walls.
That's actually what I was talking to you, Mike, about. That game on Nintendo, same kind of idea, where it was basically just a simple picture of what it was that was being described.
It's like it's like
Yeah.
turn left, and it's like oh now you turn left, and it's just the picture changing. Now oh look, there's the doorway.
Yeah.
That's all it was. It was
You
the
know-
same shit as Zork. It was just you actually could see it.
You know, what I just realized if we
makes a big
actually try
difference,
going
though.
through the entire history of role-playing games, we'll be here for the next like 20 years.
Yeah. Skip ahead
Well, that's why we're
about
doing video games. It's
5,
really not
10
that
years.
long.
Yeah,
I
no,
mean,
video
we're
games. I
kinda-
mean, we're already in the '80s here, and we're gonna
we just
skip
skipped
ahead
like
into the
that's like
'90s,
10
no problem.
years right there. We're from the
Well, you know,
70s
in the
to
90s, though, let's talk about the 90s. In the 90s, you had MUDs, which were essentially like almost like Zork, but then with like your own characters that you made and the actual role-playing element where you wrote your own story and stuff like that. Like text-based role-playing that Rob and I used to do on America Online.
America.
Yeah, but now you're talking
But
about
that's a whole
the
other
the
aspect.
But
offshoot to actual role play. Like,
well, no,
like
but
you're
they
just
were
talking online actual role play. I'm
Right.
talking about video game. role
right,
play.
right. But those were still technically video games because there was monsters and things that were not inside the player's control. There were, you know, it was really just Zork with the ability to interact with other people massively online, and also the ability to kill monsters.
So really, it was like the first MMO.
It was kind of like the first MMO, and at the same
Kinda.
time, JRPGs took the forefront in most.
Well, that's when if you're going back to real console.
If you're going back to
gaming.
real console, the first big one that hit like America would have to be Final Fantasy.
Oh, of course.
Definitely.
Like that was the first real JRPG, which is why it's the beast that it is today.
but they both have something
And
in
why
common.
SquareSoft
though.
is the ginormous company that it is.
But you know,
Square Enix now.
let me stop you for a second. A lot of people might not know what these acronyms are. I want to explain what an MUD, a J, you know, what the hell you just
Well, a
said.
MUD, I don't know what it stands for. I just know what it is. It's a
I would assume
game.
like multi-user or something.
maybe it's a game that people would log on and play, like
Okay.
Zork, that would allow you to make your own character with a character sheet like D&D, and you'd wander around and kill monsters and interact with your friends.
Okay.
And then
And a JRPG is just a Japanese
role-playing game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, your developer.
It's
whatever
just
that-
Japanese, basically.
But it's an important. It is
it's
important.
back then it was just an RPG, but as we've reached this era of the video game history, it's got that
Significantly
tacked
different.
on J because it's very distinct.
Yeah.
I mean, but the thing that the games had in common though is that
I mean, originally, basically all video games were Japanese.
yeah,
pretty
yeah,
much.
Well,
true.
yeah, I mean,
That's why they're all out there and fucking wacky. Oh god.
Nintendo, Sega, Sony.
I was a
All
Sega
the-
kid,
all the
but there
major-
wasn't really any much in the way of RPGs on Sega at all.
No, there was
there's
Fantasy
Shining,
Star.
Fantasy Star,
Fantasy Star,
Shining,
Shining
Force. Oh my god,
That's
Shining
true.
Force, Jared.
Yeah, Shining
I'm
Force
sorry.
is still my favorite game ever, next
Yeah.
to Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, SNES.
Sorry.
Legend
I
of Zelda is that like middle ground where it's not really an RPG, but it is. It's
No.
That's like the
No.
evolution of the action RPG.
Yes, that is the action RPG. Yeah.
like that's what Legend is. I love Legend of Zelda.
Yeah,
Legend of
That's-
Zelda is my favorite game of all time.
Link to the
Period,
Past
hands
is my
down.
number one game of all time.
Yeah,
It's
me
a
too.
great game, but-
I think it was the best game overall in every
aspect,
possible.
every
yeah.
possible way. That is why that's
Even
number
for
one.
the time, even for graphics.
Are you talking about Link or are you talking about Zelda?
Legend
No,
of
no, no.
Zelda: A Link to the Past.
Yeah, Super
the
Nintendo.
SNES game.
It was the best.
Is the best game of all
the
time.
original. All right. Well, that's a debate for another
Yeah.
topic. I just recently
see
played
why.
through that one on SNES too, but I don't know.
No,
Just-
come on, Light
it's a
World,
whole
Dark
other
World.
topic.
That was
I'm an
phenomenal.
original NES.
gotta think of it in-
Legend of Zelda fan. So
I love the original NES one, and they took that and made everything better, and
Well,
implemented so many things that to
Not
this day they're
really,
still
because
ripping off.
remember the second the game still happened.
The Adventure, what Link?
Adventures of Link.
That game was good too.
Mm,
It was just different
I don't know why they decided to turn it to a side scroller.
Because
but I
it's
was not a
Nintendo,
fan.
it
and
was
they're just
still
like, hey,
really,
fuck you, we're gonna do
really
what I
good
want.
though. It was just totally different. They
No,
went
because
ahead and
it
said
wasn't
that
meant
they
to
were
be a
just
Zelda
gonna-
game, and like what Nintendo always does is go, hey, this game looks good. Let's tack on one of our franchise's name and change it completely.
Yeah,
That's what they do.
like Mario 2.
That's why there's Mario everything. It's like, hey, this looks like a good tennis game. That Mario Kart was intentionally supposed to be an offshoot of like F-Zero, or just like and they were like, hey, this looks good. Let's tack Mario on there so it'll sell
F-Zero
more.
was so good, wasn't it?
But
Okay,
But not
besides
an
the
RPG.
point, we're going off track here.
It's okay. I was letting it happen. I was like listening. I'm like, this is fine.
Because this is basically me saying Japanese people are out of their fucking mind.
Fair enough. Chuck.
Censor, edit.
That is Chuck's opinion.
Hey, I'm
It's not
dating a
necessarily
Japanese
the
girl.
opinion of No Ordinary
I have a
Obsession.
valid point to it. No, love
Okay.
you, honey.
Chuck.
She doesn't listen to this.
No one listens to this.
Bullshit. We've got over 2,000 listeners now.
Yeah, we do.
For where? Jamaica?
Not actually, mostly the U.S., some in the UK,
We have 2,000
Ukraine, Russia. Yeah,
Where the hell are you people? Why don't you email us?
You
ever?
should comment us.
because they're not interactive. They're just listening to us be asses and then moving
Positive criticism, please.
So
If you troll-
JRPGs, when the evolution thereof.
All right. So the original Final Fantasy had a lot in common with the MUDs, though, if you think about it, because like even though you don't get to apply your own like full character sheet,
Well,
you
to
did
be fair, I
get to
mean, like,
create
it-
your own party with your own characters.
exactly.
on. Well, I think the next
Yeah, but
evolution there.
you didn't exactly get to evolve the character in any.
No,
sort
not
of-
the actual character. It was more like evolving the class.
Yes.
The big thing about that game was the fact that you were picking your group.
Well-
you had a group of people.
But to some
were
extent, you kind
controlling.
of like make up a story in your head as you go along. What's going on, right? I mean,
That-
like,
that's
I
not-
still don't know what that
definitive.
game's
That's not the
actually
same
about.
thing, though.
like,
Mike.
of your characters specifically.
And why is it final?
That's not the same
It's
thing.
not
though.
final. It's
Well, it's
there's-
supposed to be the final saga of a generation, is what it's supposed
Yeah,
to
that's
be.
that's the
Who the heck
explanation
died?
they
And
give
they-
it now.
they-
Why
well,
was
you
it
know what?
Final Fantasy then?
But it worked up until 10.
Final Fantasy 2.
10-2?
When they did 10 the movie, and then 10-2, they ruined the whole
10 the
thing.
movie?
It wasn't a game, it was a movie.
You think that was a movie? You should have played
I refused to.
13.
I'll get through the rest of my
God.
life without doing that. Thank you.
Yes, you should.
To me, nothing exists past Final Fantasy VII anyway, so it's all right.
yeah, we know that, Jared.
Tactics exist, so.
Yeah, but
Tactics
that's
was-
that's a different.
That's a
a
different
altogether.
kind
That's
of-
not an RPG.
That's not an RPG.
It's a
no,
strategy game.
That's a strategy.
It's amazing.
I want
There was
your
a
Let's
lot
go.
of story.
Let's
on
go
it.
back.
Tactics.
Oh, let's
It
go
was,
back to
but it's
Sega
still-
for a
It's still
second.
a strategy game.
All right.
Let's go to
So
Sega because one of the first ways that I was ever introduced to Dungeons and Dragons to begin with, like the fact that I knew it existed, was because of Sega. Because they had the D&D games in there. They had Eternal Sun on there. I think it was called Warriors of the Eternal Sun.
Oh yeah, I definitely
Oh, yeah.
played D&D stuff well before I actually played D&D.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I didn't even play. I didn't actually play D&D in any sort of volume until I was 19 years old.
Hell,
Yeah.
But I played Baldur's Gate. I played Neverwinter
yeah, so
Nights.
yeah,
and I was
Baldur's
addicted
Gate,
to that
Neverwinter,
shit.
like these were huge
Oh.
games on the PC that like were just exploded.
See,
But
I played second edition before I played Baldur's Gate, though, I believe.
I never played second edition. I tried
I
to play
tried it,
Baldur's
it was
Gate
not the
2,
same.
and I was fucking lost.
Yeah,
So
I
basically,
did
the
not understand
90s,
the rule set.
as we were talking about the JRPGs earlier, the 90s were really, despite the fact that RPGs were kind of born in the U.S., were ruled by the Japanese.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the video games
the video
in general
game,
came
the
out of
console video games we had like Final Fantasy were Japanese. When the computer had
Earthbound was a great game.
more,
Chrono Trigger was a great
yeah,
game.
all Japanese. On the PC, it was pretty much mostly American, where you had like Baldur's Gate and Neverwinter, which followed the more D&D.
Yeah,
Like,
but
Yeah, but
those
those
are
were much
actual.
later, though. Baldur's Gate didn't come out until, like, 97?
That was like 95, I thought.
No, Baldur's
Original
Gate was
Baldur's
later
Gate?
than that.
But
Really?
but the thing is, though, is that even like the JRPGs, they even evolved from having these unnamed protagonists who were on an adventure to having more detailed characters. Yes, they were the silent hero for most of it, where they didn't really speak too much.
Yeah, that always drove me nuts that the main character was never allowed to talk.
Well,
Yeah.
they wanted you to put yourself into their shoes and fill it in, just like you did with the original. They didn't quite get that, but that was the thing that I think ended the JRPG era.
Oh, you're right.
Was
Baldur's
the
Gate
silent-
actually came out in 1998.
Which one?
I think the
1998.
silent
I was
hero
close. I
thing
said
ended
No,
the
you're
JRPG
right.
era.
Actually, it's even later.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. I didn't
It
know
used to
came out
piss
that
me
late.
off when I was
Yeah,
playing a
Baldur's Gate was
game and I
late.
have this character who I have
That's
like,
right, that was developed
let's say a
by
high
BioWare.
charisma in,
Oh, yeah.
or supposed to be a
Baldur's Gate is
badass.
BioWare.
And then
BioWare's
someone
badass
says something
company.
stupid to
Oh,
him, and he
yeah.
just stands there smirking.
It's like, stop smirking.
Just have a response, smack him, do
So
something.
then, yeah, these games were more. That was more. Yeah, never mind. All right. Edit that.
Well, the worst is when your response bubble would just be ...
Yeah, I know. It's
yeah.
like what?
Well, that was probably one of the most common responses that you had in those types of games, just because they wanted to progress it and allow you to have your reaction without,
Oh,
having,
you mean like how the most common starting point was my character has amnesia?
Yeah, there was
Well,
sugar
that's
amnesia games.
that's again, Rob's right though. That's it's it's a common.
They
Rob,
want you to be able
sense.
to go ahead and put yourself in the character's shoes, and this way it becomes more of a role-playing game.
The problem with that, though, and the problem that I think eventually led to the implement of putting choices into games, is that I would not keep my mouth shut for half that shit. I'd be like, you know what? You're sending me into a war zone because, like, I'm some prince, apparently. What the fuck's wrong with you? You want to get me killed? That's the kind of response I would want to have.
Don't I
But
have
instead-
an army to do this for me? I'm
Like,
a
what?
prince.
Like, what is going on right now?
Well,
Why-
the army's battling on the front lines. You have to go and find the dragon, though. So
Really?
make
Because
sure
all I
that
ever
they
think
don't
about is
go
like,
ahead
you
and
lazy fuck. Why am I going to go pick up your loaf of bread?
And that shit still happens now.
It's like, why? Are you too fucking lazy? It's 3 doors down.
because you need experience.
What experience am I getting? A delivery boy experience? How do I learn how to fight with a sword?
Listen, you got to work your way
Chuck,
up from the bottom. There's some mean
every
streets
That's
out
why
job-
you kill rats in the basement.
Every job, every job teaches you something. That job taught you go get bread.
It taught you how to walk.
If I needed to learn how to walk, then I shouldn't be on a quest to save.
It taught you humility.
Ooh, no, it didn't. It taught me how to waste fucking
Vocabulary
time. That's what
word.
it did.
Well,
It's deep.
but like again, I think the evolution of the JRPG character
Or how to use your
from
map.
spiky-haired silent hero to angsty spiky-haired hero to whiny spiky-haired hero, I think is what really killed the genre.
I think
Yes.
comb over hair hero killed the
Comb
genre.
over hair, whiny hero.
That
is
emo
what
First of all,
comb over.
From one bald man to many bald men out there, never ever do the comb over. It's done. Just sacrifice it. Cut it all off.
Amen to that, brother.
So basically, we should go back to the silent hero.
I'd rather have a silent hero than a whiny hero.
Amen to that. I can't stand a whiny hero.
I mean, like, if you're a hero, be a hero, man.
That's,
Anytime-
that's pretty much why I stopped playing JRPGs. I just could not stand the whining and bitching and complaining. It's like, I'm going to stop there before I say something offensive.
Excellent self-control, Chuck. No, I don't like the whole whiny hero thing. I don't like when emo makes its way into anything, let alone my video games.
Which is what I think that, Baldur's Gate and the American RPGs in the late 90s really kind of like...
They took off.
Yeah, it's
That
thanks
was
to,
a whole other genre altogether. And
It's thanks to BioWare, which
it is. It's
which
BioWare.
I forgot that they made those games. And
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Baldur's Gate is no small franchise to be reckoned with.
Yeah.
I mean, Baldur's Gate came out, and Chuck just looked it up.
It was 1998.
98. So, I mean, that's going back a few years now.
That
as
was
well.
also around the time that Final Fantasy VII came
But-
out, right? It was around the same time, like 98.
I think 97. I think it was.
and that was
without-
like pretty much the high point of JRPGs.
Yeah.
Was Final Fantasy.
Well, the late
VII.
90s was the high point for everything:
Well, no.
music, TV, video games.
Well, that's your own personal preference, but the actual JRPG high
That's
point
because
would
of
be
our
Final
age,
Fantasy
Jared,
VII.
and that's those
No, that's 'cause-
colored glasses you're putting on there.
Those are some definite rose-colored glasses. I remember the late '90s. The late '90s were not that awesome.
Yeah,
at all.
I remember things like Limp Bizkit.
As far as video
and-
games go, though, it was a pretty
Korn.
good heyday.
Mike.
It wa-
NHLPA 96.
I
That's
don't know
all
what
I'm
you're talking
saying.
about.
I'm sorry,
NHL
95
95
was the best.
No, 95.
94.
Shut up!
Mike put the kibosh on that one.
No, but I gotta say, when you move past the JRPGs into some of the newer games, like the later Final Fantasies, when they start to actually develop a character, as opposed to, like you said earlier, just having a class that you're adding stats to.
When
that
did you say
really
they started doing that?
Without looking up a date, and cheating.
No. I mean, not dates.
game?
We're talking about what game?
What games? The earliest one I can remember.
Mystic Quest.
No, nothing that crazy.
I know. People want
I-
to slit my throat for that one.
See, it's hard for me
I like
because
Mystic
I was
Quest.
playing.
I was probably the only person.
I was always behind on systems because I was too poor and or cheap to buy them right away.
Preach
So
on, brother.
I was playing Sega games up until PlayStation 2 came
I mean,
out.
going along the Final Fantasy franchise, if I remember correctly, it was 4, 5, and 6 really didn't come out in the States until they were ROM'd over, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then they
So-
got official releases on the DS.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, they weren't out for quite a few years. So you basically went 1, 2,
Two.
Mystic Quest, 3, then you popped
jumped
right up
to
to 7. And 7 was the next huge leap, basically, where you had a truly defined character.
That was
And
a huge leap in all of gaming. 'cause
And that's
that had-
what we're talking, 97 then at that point?
Well,
Yeah,
what was
I
great
think that was
about that
97.
isn't just that they advanced it like that; it's that they also gave you the option. You could just keep the stock name. You can be Cloud. You can play his storyline, or you could change his name and then gear him
Not
up. however
change
you
his
want to.
storyline?
Well,
Yeah,
you
you're
can
just
still.
like-
Is it-
I mean,
no,
to be
that-
fair, you
that
are
was-
in a one-track
that was-
story.
No, that was the beginning of the one-track story. That as much as that game was groundbreaking, it's
Well,
also
at least
what
for America it was because they were doing
Yeah.
that. I mean, I've played the other Final Fantasies now; they've been re-released and rehashed and other, and they were doing that before. But in America, it was pretty much
For
Final
us,
Fantasy
yeah.
7.
Yeah,
But like
Here in
that,
the States.
that was the pinnacle for us.
but that game was groundbreaking to introduce like real solid romantic elements into a game,
Yeah,
real solid
Surprise,
sci-fi
yeah.
elements into a game, real solid sacrifice that you have to make into a game.
See, the
but
first
at the same
time-
time
And
was
see,
the
it also-
first
it's
straightforward
but the thing is,
storyline.
the first time you play that game, you don't know that no matter what you do, you're going to end up in the same place. You know what I mean? Like, no matter what you
Yes.
do, Eris is going to die, and Tifa's going to be in love with you, and you're just going to be fucked either way.
But even before that, there wasn't that much choice to begin with.
Well, there was a lot of conversation options throughout the game before she dies, where you kind of have to choose between one and the other.
Yeah, but
And for some reason, I always choose the dead chick.
Well, Eris was better looking than Tifa
She was.
anyway.
She was
Was.
great.
there are
Tifa was a little. Tifa was a little bit of a whore, I think. You know,
Yeah.
living with Barrett a lot of times.
You know what,
not
what's
married.
funny?
You know,
I think that
Raising a
I
kid.
think Zach still wasn't born yet for that game.
really?
Wait, what?
No.
Pretty sure. I think Zach was still like what? How old were you when that game came out?
Which one
Around
are we talking
97.
about now?
How old were you in '97?
Oh, shit. 9?
That's old enough.
He could have played it.
He was probably a strong reader at that point. What?
I don't know if that's a horrible thing to say or a nice thing to say.
All right. So anyway,
So back to-
I was praising his intelligence.
Seven was a
the-
big leap
was the-
forward.
that was the leap forward and basically the high point of the JRPG.
And then we moved into I would say the
BioWare
high point.
basically
BioWare
BioWare came out
Yeah.
and they released Baldur's Gate.
And then you have and then that's interesting because now you have two different markets though. You have
But that's PC versus console
Yeah,
too.
so that
Right,
stuff
which is a
really
big
didn't
difference.
even hit the
So
console.
when do
but-
they collide? When do they start directly competing with each
that,
other?
Well,
that's
Final-
pretty much when
that's collision right there. In my opinion, that's Collision.
That,
I mean,
that
like,
was the first. No, that was
console
first
versus
contact.
PC.
That was First Contact.
That was first contact.
No,
that was
when do they
Collision.
both put large titles on the
Knights
same
of the Old Republic.
format?
Yes.
Knights
As
of
a
the Old
matter of
Republic.
fact, if I think back to when I actually knew what an RPG was, because I played a bunch of RPGs, didn't know what the fucking RPG was. I just played it, didn't know what it was, never played through. If I think back to the first real RPG that I knew what it was and played to the end, it was Knights of the Old Republic.
And Knights of the Old Republic was also
Me being
the
a console
first.
gamer.
Otherwise, dreadfully known as
Yes, I was a console
KOTOR.
KOTOR.
KOTOR, yes.
No, but
And now he
in
plays
console gaming, you
SWTOR
didn't play any
online.
of the Final Fantasy.
No, I'm saying
No,
like,
I
I
won't
played them. I
pronounce
didn't
it
know
like
what
that.
they were RPGs.
I can't
didn't know
add
what
the
an
S. I
RPG
just
was.
can't do it. I can't
I was
bring
like,
myself
it's just
to do
this
that.
game with
Stop
these
that.
menus. When I actually knew what it was and I knew like what you were supposed to be doing, an idea of how these games work, was KOTOR.
All right,
That
so
was-
is that our leap? Is our leap going to be from Final Fantasy VII to Star Wars?
Pretty well. That's pretty
Well-
much when that's like the changing of the guard, in my opinion. Like 7 was the JRPG high point,
Okay.
It was because then,
and then a year later, BioWare comes out with Baldur's Gate, and they start basically what is considered now the Western RPG.
and then also the Final Fantasy Square Enix comes out with Final Fantasy VIII, and they try to recreate their success, and they kind of
8 wasn't.
botch
No.
it.
No.
Yeah. And it
Well,
was
I mean,
just-
I liked 8 a lot, but I mean, I'm
No, a
just
lot of
saying in
people
terms
liked
of
8.
I'm going to
because-
disagree wholeheartedly. I actually wish they had skipped over 8 and went straight to 9 because, for like the whole Final Fantasy thing, okay, they're humans, I get that, but they've never actually looked like humans before, and they've never like acted like normal humans before. And then all of a sudden, when you get to 8, the graphics on the systems made a huge leap.
Yeah.
And now you had these, handsome, smooth-haired characters coming in, being all swarthy. It just didn't work for me. It was like a totally different planet altogether.
See, but 9 didn't work for me because then the art got all cutesy.
They went back to
9
what they
was
did
the
in
most
Final
similar
Fantasy
to,
VII,
yeah, the older
but
Final
they
Fantasy.
made it like more dumbed down.
I
for
don't think so.
children.
I think they did with 8 what they always intended to do with those games.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
where
their
they
original
wanted to go with
intention
7.
sucked.
No, and then it didn't take off the way 7 did. So at 9, they went back even further to like the older ones, like
Yeah.
6, 5, 4. They did a 4. You can see it right in the basic mechanics where it went from a 3-party group to a 4-party group, like the older Final Fantasies.
Mm-hmm.
So you can tell they were trying to go back that way, trying to bring it that way. That didn't hit on. And
No.
then they hit 10, which was basically like Jared put it earlier before the podcast. It was watching a game.
Right. And
One big long cutscene.
It was like I played
No,
for 2 minutes.
Let me
I watched
tell
for
you
10.
here. Maybe this might be a slightly off topic. I don't think it is. When Final Fantasy X was about to come out, my wife, then girlfriend, we used to play the Final Fantasy games together because she loves like the storylines in those games and a lot of the graphics, the art, But she doesn't like playing them because it's way too much effort. So she would literally come over to my house and be like, "Here, play this game." So that was awesome. So when 10 was coming out, we got excited. So we went and we got it and we started playing it. And we literally sat there and played the game for 6 hours and kept saying to each other, "All right, when is the game going to start? This is way too long of an opening. Are we doing something wrong? What's happening here?" Eventually, we realized what was happening. It took us maybe 9 hours of denial, and we never touched a Final Fantasy game again after that.
Exactly. That's pretty much what's happened, and like that was out, and I'm pretty sure that around the same time as when KOTOR came out. If I don't know, if I look, I could probably look.
no,
I think
it's,
KOTOR
it's
was a little
roughly
after it.
KOTOR was a little after it, but like
they were in the
8,
same console generation. I know
but
that.
8 was the disappointment that I
Yeah, 8.
think primed people for when KOTOR came out.
Yeah.
Because like it was like 8 and then 9 came out and everyone was kind of looking at it like meh. Because
Yeah,
the thing
9
about 8 is it wasn't just that the game
lot
came out.
people liked 8.
It's people were really excited for it.
Yeah, it was just overhyped. A lot of people, though, like looking back on it now, enjoyed 8.
But the problem is that you were coming off of the high of 7.
Yeah.
And then the video
and the expectation level was just so far raised that it was
was
regardless of
overhyped.
who
It
you
was-
are, it's going to be
and it
very
was well
difficult to meet
marketed on
those
top
kind
of
of
that.
Yeah, but no,
It was
it's,
really well marketed.
it's like eating a whole pizza and then someone handing you a slice of pizza. It's just, you know what? I've got enough pizza. I think I'm gonna go throw up.
That's
No, it was-
probably a
it's
pretty
more like
good
eating-
analogy there.
It's more like eating like one piece of a really good meal and at a restaurant and then going back another time and it looks really good when it hits the table and then you take a bite and you're like, oh, this is all right, and then you get like halfway through and you feel like puking because something was horribly wrong in there.
Yes,
Okay.
that's actually. I do feel like
Yes,
puking when I play
yes.
This
that
is a
game.
delicious
Let
conversation.
me pause
Well,
this.
moving on
Why?
from
I got a leak.
our disappointment
really
on
badly.
what happened with the
Sorry.
Final
We
Fantasy
can hold
series.
it. Go ahead.
Okay.
Just go ahead and go pee. Well,
All right, if he's gonna
we can keep going.
All right.
No one's gonna mind that you got to go leak.
Chuck's taking a timeout.
Well, there's a lot of liquid going down
But
in this
you-
place.
Yeah.
No, there wasn't a lot of. I mean, there was a lot of other games that were going on at the time too. So
All right. Well, going back to the American side, PC, because that's where my experience more so lies. Because after 7,
We can
I
have
went
pros
on the
and views
PC
then, that's
side.
good.
So basically, I went over to the Baldur's Gate realm and played that to death. That was one of my favorite games of all time.
Now, which Baldur's Gates are you talking about? Because
I'm talking about the original. Baldur's Gate, the original. I mean, then you had Baldur's Gate 2, Shadows of Amn, and then you had Planescape Torment came out next, and then you had Neverwinter Nights, and then you had...
Baldur's Gate, the original though, with the Icewind was my first exposure to Forgotten Realms.
Was it Neverwinter? No, it was Icewind Dale
Icewind
first,
Dale.
and then it was Neverwinter
Now-
Nights. I'm sorry, I got the order
Yeah,
confused
but-
there. But I've played a lot of them, and I've spent a lot of hours logged onto those
Well, you
PC
have them
games.
now. Didn't you just buy the whole package recently?
Yeah, I did actually. On off of goodoldgames.com. By the way, highly recommended site for any of these type titles that we're talking about, especially for any of the PC titles in particular. Go ahead and check them out. They got some good deals on stuff. But I picked up a whole pack on them, and I was able to download a whole bunch of them and relive my youth as far as the Baldur's Gate series and all those kind of
Now,
D&D
where did,
adventures
Bob, you're
go.
so old.
Where did Baldur's Gate go?
Shut up, Mike.
Oh, quick word on Baldur's Gate. They're actually releasing soon the Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition. So you don't even have to get the older one. You can just wait it out, and they're going to...
Well, he already got
my
the
my
older ones,
only
that's-
problem with being the OCD person that I am, I spent almost as much time making my characters in Baldur's Gate as I did actually then playing the game.
I definitely did that too.
Because the way that you created those characters with the random stat generators, you sat there rolling the dice
To get the
over and over and over
exactly
and over
the
and
one you
over and
wanted.
over and over again
Yes.
until you were able to get the highest stats possible.
Yeah.
It was bad. And you always do better going off as a fighter class.
That's why I'm
Without
glad they
fail,
moved
because
away.
because it's second edition. It's second
Yeah.
edition, so no matter what, you're going to do better as a fighter class in that style game.
That's
Yeah.
why I'm glad they moved away from the rolling stats mechanics in those games because.
Well,
as
that's
nice
when you
as
got
it
into
was-
Planescape. Planescape,
Yeah.
you didn't roll stats.
But as nice as it was to have the authenticity, let's call it, of rolling 3d6, it's just screwed you up. Especially if you're a new player and you didn't understand the stat system. You do a random roll, you get like a 10 and an 8. You're screwed. You have no idea why you're screwed, but you're screwed.
To be fair, though, too, if you were unfamiliar with the game, I went ahead and then played Planescape Torment just recently and went ahead and threw a whole bunch of stats and stat points into intelligence, which, well, yes, it gives me a few more, dialogue options. Is certainly not very useful in the game from
Yeah.
a practical standpoint. Almost without fail, it's worth it to be either a fighter or a strength or dex-based class.
You know what's interesting about this conversation though is that KOTOR, for all talk about the system, is that it's completely based off the Star Wars 3.0 books.
Yes,
the D&D,
3.0.
the D&D,
Which
the
is
Dungeons
way
and
after
Dragons
second
3.0.
edition.
Yeah, but he's talking about these games being based on D&D second.
Right, but it's the fact that the
Yeah.
same company kind of progressed from 2.
Oh yeah, when they
to
made the
3.
leap over into the third, it became a whole different system altogether, and everything was much more balanced. And I believe you went over to third edition in Icewind Dale, if I remember correctly. Anybody?
I believe you're right, actually, yes.
I believe it's Icewind Dale where you moved over into third edition, and they went ahead and updated it. Which, by the way, I started teaching myself how to play second edition off of the Baldur's Gate manual,
You were such a nerd.
which is pretty much a full-fledged second edition manual. So for anybody else out there who really needs a second edition manual and for some reason can't find the actual PDF, by the way,
You just said
Baldur's-
the actual PDF as opposed to the actual book.
Yeah, I know
Yeah, well,
I'm
it's
bad
wrong.
like that.
Is that where we've gone? We can't look for the book first with that beautiful
Not if
artwork
you're,
they had in there.
Yeah, if you're me, that's where you go first.
It's like, what's a book?
The death of our society has come.
Dude, I'm also the same person that taught myself how to play Magic the Gathering off of the book too. Like, it's just the way I did things growing up.
You still do that.
Yeah, I know.
We get these new board games, and you sit there and read the entirety of the rule system before we start playing.
So?
Errata, everything.
What's wrong with that?
It takes us like 4 hours to start playing a new game.
And
By
then
the
it
way,
takes
if
us
you-
6 hours to play through because Rob took up 5 of those hours.
If you ever see a picture of Rob now, he doesn't look like the kind of person who would do that. If you see a picture of Rob when he's like 15 or even like 13, which is even better,
Actually,
he totally looks like the kind of person who would
We
do
should
that.
post that picture we found of him with the scouts.
yeah.
That should be your new avatar.
I was a badass Boy Scout. Right?
You know what though?
That's
The
an
worst is if we
oxymoron.
if we post a picture of me from the same time, I look like a chubby fathead. It's horrible.
You still do.
Fuck you.
A chubby fathead.
Well, I was
That's right.
chubby, and then my head was extremely huge.
It's all good, man. I'm a chubby fat Puerto Rican. It's cool. Don't worry about it.
So basically, the progression of that though was you had Baldur's Gate, you had Baldur's Gate 2, which were both amazing games that had
Especially
intricate,
2.
deep.
That was...
They had very intricate, very deep storylines that you had a very large impact on your choices that were made throughout the game. Whether or not you developed entire towns that were hostile towards you, and all sorts of good stuff.
Yeah, there was a lot of good stuff in there.
So I mean, like, and random encounters. I mean, like, hell, you came across Driz Duorden. Anybody who out there who reads Forgotten Realms, all sorts of good stuff that they threw in there as Easter eggs and fun things to come across.
And there was a
These
lot of
were-
stuff
these were
along the
all-
way that kind of like other PC games that were in that
And that same kind of, like,
genre.
that's
The
like,
Sierra games, they were really hard though. That was the problem with Sierra games.
game, like, for instance, another big franchise that has, especially today, a sort of revitalization of the series is Fallout.
Fallout, yeah. And Rob was a huge Fallout
Yeah, and
fan.
I played a lot of that too. Oh my!
That's another
God.
big, like, Western game that was
Yeah.
very much you
That-
creating your own character and you making choices and living out a story.
Very Western in that it was almost more actiony than it was RPG.
Yes.
And
There was a lot of RPG, though, in that game.
yeah.
There's a lot of RPG in that
I
game.
mean, with the whole system that they had, I mean, Fallout basically came from bottom up as far as the whole class. Well, there was no classes. It was simply your
There's the
ability
stats.
scores and perks and skills.
Yeah, it's the special system.
Yeah, and it was really good. I
Yeah.
mean, like, you
Yeah.
had a lot of customization. Like,
and it was a real contrast to the D&D based system of
yeah, no, they were completely different, and
Survivor games.
they were in the same time frame too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was about that same time frame. Maybe a couple years later, maybe a little while after.
I don't know.
No, you're right. No, that
No,
was
it's
probably
about the
right
same
around.
time.
I was playing Fallout 2, Fallout 1, probably 99 or so.
And I don't.
That's right around the same time as Planescape, I think.
And the other games I was talking about are pretty much are similar in system, but weren't as well executed. And they were done by the company Sierra. I don't know the name of the games themselves. Oh, I think one was something that had to do with Camelot. But like they were similar. You had that skill system that was a real contrast. Basically, Fallout did it right though, because these games were impossible and that game was fun.
God, I lived on Fallout 2 for so long. That's actually between Fallout 2 and Baldur's Gate is when I taught myself how to hex edit using hex editors to
Oh,
hack
actually-
my save game files.
Yeah.
So this way, because Fallout 2 was so difficult towards the end. That was my major qualm with the game. As you got towards the end and you tried to go against the Enclave and the Brotherhood and everything like that, it got very, very, very difficult. And you almost needed to have to try and give yourself a leg up on equipment and stuff like that in order to be able to overtake it.
But the other
That
thing
game
with that
actually,
game,
real quick, Fallout actually came out a year before Baldur's Gate. It was in 97.
Really?
Yeah.
The original Fallout?
Original Fallout 1, 97. Baldur's Gate was 98.
I'm pretty
Okay.
sure it was the first real like post-apocalyptic RPG though, too, right?
Actually, technically, as I was just reading from the wiki, it's actually a spiritual successor from the 1987 game Wasteland.
Oh, that's right. Which is actually going to get a re-release soon. I
Yes.
forgot about that. Because that got a release Kickstarter.
It
Oh.
did.
The
All right.
Kickstarter got funded, so that's going to be a major.
Hell yeah, Kickstarter.
Then
Mike's
again-
all over that.
Yeah.
It's funny though because 1987, I couldn't remember 1987 if I tried. So
Dude, I was 3.
yeah, and I was 4.
I vaguely remember it.
I
You're-
bet
you're-
Alec
you're-
remembers
Yeah,
1987.
I'm sure he does.
No.
Eh.
That's what you get for
Yeah,
not being here.
The guy who's not here is the target. So
Yeah,
it
he
always
is.
is. That's why I refuse to
You
do the show.
colorblind motherfucker.
Oh,
That's harsh.
Low blow.
that's a direct attack.
Those video games.
What
are
am I
really
wearing?
hard for
Am I
him.
wearing green? Am I wearing blue? Am I wearing red? Am I wearing blue?
That's
Okay,
green. Green
So
and
it's
red.
green.
So we're right around the turn of the century there. I mean, where did we go from there?
Alec.
Where did we go from there? We went to JRPGs losing relevance
Pretty
at,
much,
at, a,
yeah.
at a high speed. I mean, there were some good games. There was that came out, but they weren't as successful as they should have been. Like Grandia and Suikoden 3.
Yeah.
Those were solid games that would have been more successful if the genre hadn't started tanking.
I don't know. I think you start getting into the age of like Blizzard coming out big at that point.
Well, what year did the first Warcraft come out?
I'm not saying that they should have been
Orcs
better
versus humans.
than
Humans and-
the
Orcs
games
versus
that were
humans?
popular. I'm just saying that there are games of merit that came out that weren't really seen. Like,
Well, I mean, we're talking right around this time frame here. I mean, granted, still Icewind
Well,
Dale
actually,
and
we
Neverwinter
can't-
Nights
we
were
can't
still
talk
coming out
about that. That
probably
was the
through
multi-yes. So we can't
2003,
even really add that to
2004.
this conversation.
2003, 2004, yeah.
That was probably that time period that
Yeah,
that was
exactly.
going through. But from there, from 2004, where did we go next? I mean, like,
In 2004, what game were you talking about? I'm sorry. It was
2004.
2000
2000,
discussion with
I'm
Jared.
just trying to go year by year here chronologically. I mean, like, we got, as far as RPGs go, I mean, online, I mean, as far as PC basis, which I'm
Well,
more
MMOs
familiar
were-
with console.
MMOs were starting to come out and drones by that
MMOs
point.
were really big at that
I mean,
point,
like,
starting-
we had
Well, you
had
had
Ultima
Galaxies
Yeah,
beforehand.
Ultima was the first
Ultima.
And then that was in the late 90s, though, right?
Yeah, Ultima had been out for a little some time.
I think
But that's
Ultima
when they-
Online
late
was the
90s
first
was like
major
Ultima
one.
like 3, which was like the big one.
But 2002, 2003, 2004
You talk
was
about
when
Europe
Galaxies.
was never a big Ultima group, though, so I think that's. I apologize to the listeners out there who may have been Ultima fans, because that is a big franchise.
It
too.
It
is.
still is.
Yeah,
it
still
is,
is.
but
Yeah.
They're still
Al-
playing it. To this
It's a
day.
game where you buy real estate. Like, you literally
But-
own pieces of the world.
right. But what I'm saying though is that
in like 2003, 2004 era.
you have the Matrix Online comes out.
Yeah.
You have the superhero game. I can't remember the name of that.
City Heroes
City
just
Hero-
closed down last year or the beginning of this year.
You
This
had
year.
the Star Wars Galaxies come out.
Yeah,
That was, I
garbage.
think, probably one of the most important ones that came out, to be
I
honest
think it
with
was
you.
complete garbage. EverQuest came out. That was the big one.
EverQuest came out in like the late 90s, though.
Yeah, which by then it had already completely taken off, and that's why all these other ones were created to try to
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
some of the steam.
The funny thing is, I
But no,
never,
actually,
I never
around-
played
around
EverQuest. I never wanted to.
I
early
knew
two-
one kid who
Ah.
played EverQuest, and
I
he wasn't a
played
bad
EverQuest
guy,
for a short while.
but he scared the shit out of me when he showed me his EverQuest account. Like, seriously, I was a gamer, I was a nerd, I was a role player, I had dedicated hours of my life to making characters, but when he started talking about, like, falling in love in game and all this other
Yeah.
stuff, I, like, the gleam in his eyes in his basement, I was like, let me the fuck out. Where am I right now? How do I get out of here?
Like, I know we're I
EverQuest
know-
was another world. Like that
Yeah.
That
truly
ruined
was,
lives.
Yeah,
Like, yeah.
that was a whole nother world.
I know
Like,
we're
that was-
talking about the evolution of role-playing games, and I will put in a little footnote that, yes, from this point is where MMOs developed, and it's an offshoot, but to me it's pretty much there where I end the role-playing thing, because that doesn't... It just feels like, exactly like you said, you're living another life. You're not even playing a game at that point.
You know what's different though is that it's coming back full circle, because I'll tell you, I'm playing Star Wars: Old Republic a lot, and it does not feel like an MMO at all. It feels like I'm playing a BioWare game.
Well, that's the thing is,
Yeah, well,
you
that's
are.
That's
what
the
I was saying.
that might be the criticism, but for me, that's
No,
great.
That is great, and that's where I was about to bring up to my next point. We're in about like 2000, and we were trying to discuss what's the next big game that kind of
2004 is World of Warcraft,
2003 was when Knights of the Old Republic came out.
right?
Like that's when the big console RPG.
Wait, Knights came out before Warcraft?
Yes,
Wow.
because I finished Knights, and that's when I was like, "Hey, these RPGs are really cool." Now that I know what they are, like that was like I said, that was like the. That's when I'd say like the battle flag went down. Like these are Western RPGs, and they're better. Well, I guess from our standpoint, I'm saying my own opinion. They're better than these JRPGs. Like this is where they're drastically different, and that's why they're better.
They are at that point.
different.
They were better because I don't know what happened in the industry at the time, but some of the things with JRPGs, they started losing translation. And, you know, like there was just something like going on in the story where you'd like be playing it and you're like, this doesn't make any sense.
Well, I think it was.
That's it.
There was a time period in there too, though. I mean, like there was a couple that came out. I was discussing before we started tonight. I mean, when Xbox came out, one of the big launch games that they had, as far as the JRPG goes, was Lost Odyssey. I played that game to death.
Well,
That was
360
360 though. Where this is original Xbox.
Yeah, but that wasn't that many years thereafter, though.
No, but that was after World of Warcraft. I mean, like
360 came out in 2007, so that was
Really, that
4 years later.
that late?
yeah, and Lost
No,
Odyssey.
no, you're right. No, it was 2005 because it's a 7-year-old system now.
Yeah, I
Even
was gonna
so-
say that's not that. I mean, we're not
Yeah,
talking that
it's
far
2
off
years
here.
later.
But Lost Odyssey, I mean, like honestly, it was the original creator of Final Fantasy with total creative control, and he was being funded by Microsoft.
They were trying to get a JRPG on the system because the original Xbox lost a lot
Of money
to
in Japan.
Japan. But that was at the time when Japan was still ruling the circuit.
Well, here's the bottom line with the Japan thing, though, is that unless you're willing to release adult games on your console, you're not going to corner the Japanese market.
Mhm.
Eroge and even just dating sims in general are too popular in Japan. So unless you're willing to, like, you know, have some virtual get-em-ons, it ain't gonna
Get
happen.
him on, he says.
What?
No, just like
You
how you
know.
put that.
I'm really worried about where those games are going to be going with the new video game systems, like the Kinect and all that kind of crap.
Oh, that
Like-
stuff's garbage. Don't even worry about that.
no, but I mean, like, where the dating systems are going to go with this technology.
Oh, dude.
Oh my god, those pads are going to need so much cleaning.
Oh, dude, no, dude, the PC has already gone leaps and bounds on that one. Trust me.
Ugh,
And I
that's
won't
gonna
go
be
into
gross.
details on that.
We really don't want you to, Chuck.
no, we don't.
Chuck's got an entire Aerogate collection at home.
I don't even know what that word means.
I don't
Don't
know
tell
what
me.
that word means either.
Don't
but apparently,
tell
I
me.
have one.
Don't tell me.
It's
Um,
it's just
Let's
No,
just
games.
let's just back up. You know, I think for me, where the role playing games took a turn to the proper direction, I go back to Galaxies, and I'll tell you why.
Are you really going to go to Galaxy?
I am. It's the first one that I can think of, or that I have really experienced, where it was based on lore that pre-existed, and that was it was like a universe that was already there, where you weren't playing the main characters. You know, you were playing the side characters.
Okay, I'll give you that. It
Okay,
was just
and
a
then-
horrible gameplay.
But when you listen, I didn't really play it for all that. But then when you get into, let's say, World of Warcraft, again, the reason why it did so well, not just because they advanced the game system. I
Just
mean, they
because
did.
RPG is in MMORPG doesn't mean it's an RPG.
It is if you play it that way. That's the thing. MMOs.
I know you love the Warcraft storyline.
I
Jared.
do. I'm a huge fan of it. But
I don't think it makes any sense.
But that's the thing. If you know the lore going into it,
And
and
I
you're
do.
playing
I played Warcraft. I played
When you
Warcraft
played-
2.
I did too. It still doesn't make any sense to me. I played Warcraft 3 extensively.
yeah.
I read I tried to read one of the books. I don't understand what's going on still.
I don't know what you're missing. It's pretty straightforward. People try to kill each other. Monsters, aliens, creepy things, abyssal.
Goat aliens,
Yeah. More like-
Asian pandas. Who knows?
Well, listen, that's... All right, listen, when I say World of Warcraft, let me put a little asterisk on this. Vanilla WoW. The original game.
Hey, that doesn't exist anymore, man. Now it's after Cataclysm.
I'm saying that's
pretty bad.
that's where they had the lore, and that's why it was so easy to launch that game, because they got the mechanics right, they got the visuals, and then they had this huge lore to go off of.
I don't agree. I
They
don't think anyone
created
reads that
a-
shit.
An ancient dragon just to
the
keep it
original
going.
the original Warcraft was not storyline driven.
There-
Period. End of story.
That's what every Blizzard game. There was no story. They had to tack one on after the fact.
It's gameplay based.
You know what?
You know what?
That's
I
Blizzard.
love Blizzard games. I really do. Like, I played a lot of Warcraft when it was a real time strategy. But at the same time, though, it's not an RPG storyline driven game.
It's game. You know what? I have to come down the middle ground though. It may be gameplay based, but what they did do really well with the storyline isn't the story itself, but the atmosphere. The first time logging into World of Warcraft for me, and I was playing a Night Elf because, like, whatever, I want to play
I will
Night Elf.
concede at least that much.
The music,
I will
the details of the world around you, that was, like, really immersive.
That's what.
And then I got
yeah.
talking to people, and I was like, what the fuck is going on?
That game, I think that's what made it really. It was that it was just like, it was like EverQuest, but it was more.
immersive. It's
it was
really
more
the
immersive.
best way to
Well,
describe
the
it.
problem with Warcraft for me,
It was more accessible.
it was
I
the other
actually
people
thinking.
that were playing. I just that whole multiplayer part I wasn't a big fan of.
Yeah, that ruined PvP
That's
for me
why.
forever.
That's why the new Star Wars.
Yeah,
is
here's
so
a little
much better.
side note.
It's an
The
MMO
group of us
without
here are
having
all
to play with other people.
antisocial
You
multiplayer
kind of get through it.
fans,
Oh yeah, I played Warcraft for 6 years. I grouped maybe a dozen times.
and that was pretty much mostly with us.
That was I had another guild for a little while. That was again people I knew before going in.
The other,
That's
you know,
it.
what the other major difference to me is like where Warcraft I think detracted from me was like at some point your gaming was repeatedly going into the same dungeon and looking for items.
You just don't like grinding.
No, Mike,
Who likes working
You're
when
telling
they're
me someone
trying
who
to have
does
fun?
like grinding.
I'm raising
I
my
like-
hand.
I like grinding.
I love the grind.
I love grinding.
No, Mike, I
am
know exactly
so
where you
bad-
stopped
Wait, are we
playing.
talking about the same thing here?
Yes, not the thing you're thinking of. The video game version.
Oh,
of the
then I
grind.
don't understand why you enjoy
No,
grinding.
Mike stopped playing World of Warcraft in Daenerys at level 45 because he died like 17 times in a row in this one place because he wasn't high enough level for it, but he was too high to go to another place because he wouldn't get anything for it. He just threw his hands up and walked away.
It wasn't just
It was the pirates, Mike.
it was the pirates, but it was also the fact that I was collecting fucking bandanas for the 50th time.
They need a lot of bandanas.
Oh, let's face it. I ran most of us through because we were like, "Hey, Chuck, you need to catch up," and it's like 2 weeks later. It's like, Chuck, why are you ahead of us?
Why do you have max level characters?
Anyway, but like that was I think the MMO thing like and honestly I think we're coming down on the tail end of the MMO thing right now that they just discovered.
Yeah, I think it's partially dying
it's
out
done.
now.
It's
yeah.
done.
Well, honestly, if you don't go free to if you're planning on launching a pay sub service now without a free to play option,
You're done.
You're delusional.
Oh, damn, I've got to cancel my Star Wars account. I forgot. You just reminded me.
Because you want to go free to play?
Yeah.
I'm-
You're not going to, for a casual player, you might as well go free to play in these kind of games.
I am. I mean, I'm playing this game like I play a BioWare game, meaning I'm plugging into it right now like 15 fucking hours a week, which I never do.
15. That's nothing.
I haven't logged in.
I'm
since I got
sorry,
to
Rob.
play.
I have other things I have to worry about right now.
15 hours
So
on
do you.
one game? I play like 4 different games in that amount of time.
All right. Well, just because I play one Flash game at a time right now.
Yeah, one
You guys
Flash
only play
game
one
at a
game
time.
at a time, really?
Yeah,
I don't
no.
have the attention span from. Well, I can't even say I don't have attention span. I get obsessed over storylines and characters and places and games.
Yeah.
No,
so-
I just have a problem with OCD where I obsess over one thing at a time.
Well,
and
I think
do
I
it
have
to
ADD
death.
There's-
then, because I seriously am playing 4 or 5 games right now.
Well, I honestly do have ADHD, like been tested, but I will tell you that there's enough stuff in Star Wars to keep my attention because if
Yeah.
it's not one thing, it's another thing. Like
That's
last
fun.
night, I was really dead set on getting to to get to the second level of Dark Side to get enough Dark Side points where I was Dark Side rank 2. And then I was like, oh, I really want to finish my class quest. And I was like, oh, I really want to get my next companion conversation. And I was like, oh, look at that shiny thing over there. And before I knew it was 3 a.m., they're like, server is shutting down. I'm like, no! I have to go to work. Wait, I have to go to work tomorrow morning. I really should stop playing this damn game.
The funny thing is, all the things he just mentioned are absolutely pointless in the game. You don't get anything for those things except for the satisfaction of having done them.
And that's
Like
all I want
achievement
because you know
points.
what? I'm not there to group with a bunch of people to like beat a heroic quest.
Oh,
To
that's
say-
The point is to win, Mike. The point is to win.
Rob.
No,
you
my
don't
friend.
win
The point
MMOs.
is the journey because you know what?
you can't win.
win.
The point is to get through it as fast as possible so you can get on to the next game.
No, see, an MMO like that is really a good lesson in life. No matter what you do, in the end, you're gonna lose.
Well,
All
no,
you've
'cause
done is grind it
waste
out
a lot of
until you
time.
die.
waste a lot of time, spend a lot of money, and then I'm going to come out with an expansion to make you waste a lot of time, spend a lot of money.
We're all
And
just
you buy a lot
grinding
of
it out
shit
right
you don't
now.
need. It becomes outdated. You gotta buy new shit.
But like, I mean, like the free to play option is a necessity now, which is the reason why I'm worried about World of Darkness Online, because they don't come out with the free to play option. I don't know what they're doing. You know,
Is there any actual news on that coming out?
there has been in a while.
They're smart at one.
Yeah, because that's been one of those pipe dreams that we've all been hoping for
The
a long
closest thing
time.
to it would be Secret World.
Well, CCP has been working
Secret
on other
World
products.
is pretty much based on
Yeah.
it.
But it's also been in the talk
Yeah, they're doing
now
Dust
for
514
3
right now.
years, at least.
Well, Dust
yeah.
Dust took a developmental delay, which slowed down the rest of World of Darkness.
Well, you know what, Rob? If the World of Darkness game never comes out, it might be a good thing because then we can't be disappointed.
Yes, that's very true.
What is the Secret World?
Because the last one that came out
Secret World
was
is,
a big disappointment.
Secret World is basically World of
It's
Darkness.
basically World of Darkness, where it's basically the three. There's 3 factions in the game, 2 of which are based off of reality, I guess. And then
What is it? It's the Illuminati.
It's the Illuminati, the Templars, and they created an Asian faction called the Dragons.
Yeah, created.
Yeah, yeah. And essentially, it's
We couldn't see
World
your
of
quotes
Darkness.
there,
There's
Everyone
there's
knows
certain
when I
people
speak
who have
like that,
special
it's
abilities
air
in this
quotes.
game, and they recruit them,
terrible.
and just shit has gone wrong with the world, very World of Darkness style.
But is it like 3D, like full?
Yeah, it's like a full-on MMO, like you're playing World of Warcraft.
Is it free to play or
No,
no?
Not yet.
So-
not yet.
It's gonna have to.
It's
be,
gonna
though.
happen because it's bombing.
Well, it's
Yeah, but
bombing
even
because it's not free to play.
Exactly.
Do you know how many people on Star Wars in the last 5 weeks since they went free to play have been like, "Oh my god, this game's awesome! I'm totally gonna pay for it now."
Oh no, they came out the game has been out for a little bit now. The first month it sold well, and then like most new MMOs, it drops off dramatically after the second. You know, because they basically play that first one. This is great, but I don't want to keep playing it, so they don't pay. And right off the bat, the company saw this, especially after seeing what happened with SWTOR. Yes, I said it. And they were even saying like, we are looking into trying to make this free to play because they knew if they try to keep subscription based that they were just going to.
All right. We have to wrap this up in a few minutes. There's one question I want to get to that I think
But there's so many other current games to play
we can
right
always
now, though.
pause it and keep recording. But we're already up to like an hour. These people don't want to listen to us anymore. Let's talk about
It's
this.
fact. People like long podcasts.
Let's talk about this free to play thing for a second, right? So, with playing Star Wars, I'm
Diablo
paying for
3.
it. Shut up. I'm paying for it, right?
Yes.
As I'm playing it, I realize I don't really think the quality is up to par with some of the other games that have come out before it. Both in the graphics, just the way that the game is designed, the characters.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, no, don't get me wrong. I think it's a great
characters?
game. No, yeah, trust me. I think it's a great game. But I don't think it's really up to par with some other ones.
Like what?
Now, like with the original, well, not even original, with like the World of Warcraft, let's say. I think they put a lot more money into that than they did Star Wars, it looks like.
I don't know. It's fully voice acted.
No, they put a
I
lot
mean-
more money into SWTOR.
You think?
It's fully voice acted. I think the characters are great. I think where it loses out is mechanically, and I think that's what's why they lost so many subscribers.
Well,
What
I
it's
can't
losing out is
figure out-
the fact that they're chasing the giant.
Probably.
There's still 9,000 people playing Warcraft.
I know, but the thing about Warcraft is that
9,000?
each class,
I'm sure there's
9
more
million,
than
I mean,
9
9
million.
million.
each class in Warcraft is distinct,
Yeah.
and each class and Star Wars, each class on each side is reskinned from the other side. So you have essentially either side you choose, you're playing pretty much the same class other than the quests.
Yeah, but I think the actual combat mechanics themselves are kind of shitty.
They're not great,
No,
but
yeah.
it's pretty much MMO standard combat
Well,
mechanics.
you're looking way too much into it. The thing is that people have put years into Warcraft characters. So they'll go off and play something else for a little bit. When it comes down to it, it's like, why start this shit all over again?
But here's the
I'm just
thing.
going to go back to my Warcraft character where the game is pretty much the same thing, and they did it better because they did it first. And I already have a high-level character, so I'm just going to go back to Warcraft. That's
Well,
pretty much it.
What I was
They're
looking
chasing
at
the
was...
giant. The giant's too big right now.
See, I started playing... I downloaded Valve's Steam, right? Valve's Steam. It's from
Steam.
Valve. I downloaded Steam. I started playing some of the games on there, and I found, which for me was great, Star Trek Online. Right? And
God.
once I saw the
Oh,
title,
man.
I was like, wait a minute. I remember this game getting released. Why did I never hear about it again?
It's
So
awful.
I downloaded it and I played it. And yeah, it was pretty awful. And then I saw Dungeons and Dragons online. I
That was
downloaded that and I
awful
played that, and
also.
that was awful.
That was awful.
And when I downloaded Star Wars, I honestly thought it was like the same kind of quality game, only with better writing.
No. No. I'm sorry. Did you really sit down and play the Dungeons and Dragons game?
No, that one bugged out on me a lot.
That was a horrible game.
But I did,
So was
I
the
did
Lord of the
play.
Rings
The Star
that
Trek
came out
one
on
was
that.
really bad too. I remember
Yeah,
playing that
no,
one.
I played the Star Trek one for about 2 weeks, and eventually I just couldn't do it anymore.
I will say
That was
SWTOR has
bad.
the large-scale problems, such as the reskin classes, lack of distinction between the two sides, not enough interplayer interaction other than grouping, because like it's sometimes cool to have a little bit of PvP, as long as that PvP doesn't mean a level 80 character is killing me every 5 seconds.
Oh, that
Yeah.
game is the single-player MMO.
But no one's ever figured out how to stop that kind of crap in a game.
But I mean, like the war
Some
zones
of
are
the
kind
Flash
of
games
the war
have no
zones
problem
work.
doing that.
and like some sort of, but there, what I'm saying though is that there's a problems with the game, and I acknowledge that. But you cannot say it's not like Dungeons and Dragons Online.
Well, all right, I can't honestly.
It's not as-
fully
it's not as
compare
good
it
as Warcraft
because, like
right
I said,
now?
when I was playing Dungeons and Dragons Online, it was so buggy that I could barely play it. But
Yeah,
just
it
the whole setup, the whole free to play game thing, looks like shittier games. And honestly, if I was to look at Star Wars while I was paying for it, I would have put it in that classification before paid.
But as little disposable income as we have, we still have some disposable income. And I'll tell you, the next generation, the teens who are coming up, who are having a hard time finding jobs, the only games they play are Minecraft and free-to-play games. So if it isn't free-to-play, you're not getting the next generation of gamers.
Oh,
A lot of those
that's-
kids do
that's,
not have money.
That's another reason, like off topic slightly, but that's the reason why these like games like Minecraft, these indie games are huge. They call the Xbox Live Arcade games are huge. This is $10.
Bang for your buck, man.
You're getting a huge bang for your buck for like $10, which is why it's like they're like, why should I? Hell, I have disposable income, and half the time I'm like, why should I spend $60 on this game when this $10 game I'll get more out of it?
And the number of shitty games that come out that cost $60 is big.
Yeah.
All right, well let's bang our buck on another show because right now we have to cut this off.
Like
I
Uncle
think
Buck.
Bang for Your Buck might be a good one.
Bang for so we can make the bang for the buck
Anything
show
with the word bang in it.
All right, next show's about banging apparently.
Yeah.
For the buck.
Of course for the buck.
I like to think about John Candy.
There's always the buck in front. Uncle Buck banging
Uncle
for
Buck.
Uncle Buck.
Ba-
Whole different movie.
You're thinking about banging John Candy?
No, I'm just saying about John Candy in general. I miss you, John Candy. You made me laugh.
He
You gave me the ha-has.
He was a very funny man.
He
I
was.
just
He was
watched Home
great.
Alone the other day. That
So-
was great.
That has
God, he
nothing
was
to do with John Candy.
John
That's-
Candy was in that movie.
All right, shut up,
He had like a cameo in the first one.
everyone.
He's
Shut
still
up,
in it.
He's my favorite character in the movie.
you bunch of assholes. Shut up. That's it for tonight's show. Thanks for joining us, guys, and we'll see you next
I didn't
time.
even get in a
Have a
Mass
good night.
Effect. Balls.
Thank you for listening to our show. Please visit our website at noordinaryobsession.com, where you'll find show notes from this and other podcasts, along with our blog and Twitter feed. This has been a production of No Ordinary Media, all material copyright unless otherwise noted. As always, be kind to us and subscribe to our feeds. Good night.